Hello guys, it's been a bit quiet in Starbase recently, so I thought I'd make a video. I haven't really finished any major projects, but I have been working on several different variations of a new 1K turret ship, and I thought I might as well just make a video on it, mostly because I did some testing, and the testing were kind of failures, to be honest. And I think I'm going to have to redesign or just scrap the whole idea of a 1K turret ship altogether. So I thought, you know what, rather than keep this a surprise, I might as well just show it now, because the chances are I'm probably not going to use this ship in the tournaments. So how does it work? Basically, I've used a tool joint turret on top of a very small ship base, which is very small. And thanks to this very cool feature of the tool joint arm, I can sink it lower than the default position, just like that. So I've synced the turret lower, which is pretty cool. And I've got wedge armor skirts on the front of the ship, like so. So when it does sink down and wherever I aim with the turrets, I'll have some protection. And here's a see-through view. I've packed in as many generators as I could, and I've also squashed some batteries and some components inside the turret itself. The turret itself is similar to turrets that's been made by Loki on the Discord. I took a little bit of inspiration because I don't normally do these single barrel turrets down the middle. So trying to fit a massive turret on a tiny ship like this actually caused a lot of issues, particularly with the balance, which I'll get to later. For now, let's just see how it did in PvP testing. Okay, so those first few tests were a bit of a disaster. I found it very difficult to aim because the aim was extremely shaky, and this is mostly due to the fact that I have a heavy turret on a small ship. It causes the aim to constantly shake the ship whenever I move the turret. It wouldn't have been such a big deal if I had a heavier turret base, but because it's small and it is physics based, it does shake the entire ship. So I found myself just not using the turret altogether and just aiming manually like a normal ship, which kind of defeats the whole purpose here. So I'll have to come up with a different way to use this. Okay, so next up I have a different version of the ship. On this version it has a fixed cockpit where I just sit it in one spot, so I'm not inside the turret itself, and I aim the turret separately with mouse aim, just like my older ships. Let's see how this one did. Okay, so the fixed seat version, where I just sit in the same spot and just aim the turret separately, that seemed to do a little bit better. However, the disadvantage of this version is it has less armor. I can't have an armor skirt like the other version can, and additionally it has a bit less firepower because I need more room for an extra cockpit space instead of merging with the turret, so I actually have less generators on this version. But overall, in conclusion, I think the biggest problem with this ship design is that the turret is just too heavy for the size of the ship. So for future turret projects, I just need to remember that if you're going to use a turret on your ship, you have to keep the weight ratio to a certain level. You can't have the turret weighing a third of the entire ship, because if you do, it causes the whole ship to shake whenever you aim the turret, making aiming a lot more difficult, and as a result, just having fixed weapons and aiming manually would actually be a lot easier to aim with, which defeats the whole purpose of this design. But I have learnt a lot. This is the smallest turret design I've made. For instance, this turret is 300 tons, and my previous turrets that I used on the Banshee in the 3K tournaments, that was 500 tons, and that had less armor and it was less effective, and there was two of them as well, so the 1000 tons were used up by the turrets on the 3K Banshee. If I was to replace that with one of these turrets and just beef it up a little, so let's say one 400 ton turret instead of two 500, so let's say you've got a 400 ton turret on a 3K ship, that's already saving me 600 tons for extra armor. So for future tournaments I will try a turret again, but it has to be on a larger weight class, and I do think it'll be a lot more effective now that I've gotten better and designed a new turret base like this one. And here's another large project that I'm working on, just a sneak peek. It's not going to be done for a long time, but I have been working on like an large escort train ship, where I was thinking of having turrets manually operated by players, and they could just jump on the ship and defend the large turret ship. But this is a slow project, just something I'm working on quietly in the background. That among other things, but I'll leave those for a surprise for later. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you can think of any improvements for my small turret ship, let me know in the comments, although I think I'm probably just going to have to scrap this design because it's just too small. But I will keep the turret, it is a good turret, and I can use it for my bigger ships later. So thanks for watching, see you next time.